Aloha from Hawaii. I want to talk to you guys today in regards to safety and spearfishing. You know, a lot of times in the spearfishing world, you get catchphrases and these have become a commonplace, and a lot of times people just don't even pay attention to them anymore, like one up, one down, 2 to 3 times your dive time for your surface interval time. You know, you hear these things, and yeah, obviously these are the fundamental principles and they make more sense than anything else. However, I want to talk about some obscure things that people just don't think about. You know, after spearfishing with multiple partners in multiple different areas across the world, you know, it's really easy to see that newer divers or just divers in general that aren't really concerned or have taken safety classes, freediving safety classes, so forth and so on. They're just not concerned with certain things, and it makes the diver who has taken these classes and is concerned with those things very uncomfortable, because you know, he just wants to feel like he's protected in the water just like he's protecting others. One of the biggest pet peeves that my dive partners and other Team Alchemy members have concerning safety and spearfishing have to be, yes, one up, one down. So what that means is if one person's on the surface, the other person's down, that person doesn't leave the surface until that other person that went down is all the way up and has shown that they have executed a proper dive and are okay or are safe at the surface. However, a lot of times what I've noticed is, yes, certain dive partners that we have or people that we've dove with are exercising that safety precaution, which is they're waiting at the surface before they do their dive until the other diver is safe at the surface that they're diving with. However, they're a little bit further away than what is comfortable for me and my consistent dive partners. That is, you know, maybe they're 15 feet away and they feel very close to the person because they can see them. However, we practice that you have to be less than an arm's length away, okay? Why is that important? Because ultimately, if you're 15 feet away from me and I breach the surface and I'm having an LMC that's close to a blackout, you may not get to me in time for the safety to take place. That is, you have to swim all the way over to me before you can get to me because you're 15 feet away. I might already be back down the surface because I've blacked out. Another thing, and one of the biggest things that me and my spearfishing partners we practice regularly is, you know, a lot of times we're diving in 35 meters and we're hunting, we're on the ground, it's rocky. Out here in Hawaii, especially in Maui, you got to go a long ways out, and you know, you're not going to find fish before you hit, you know, let's say at least 30 meters or somewhere in that neighborhood, 25 meters. And so good thing is out here we have great visibility. We have, you know, 25, 30 meters of visibility 365 days a year. So I can see my partner, I can understand what's going on. So in most cases what I do is I keep an eye on him all the time. I know where he is all the time. And ultimately, if I hear that gun go off and if I see that he shot at a fish or shot at something, I'm meeting him in most cases at 10 meters. So as soon as he shoots, I'll wait for him to shoot, start coming up. I'll meet him at 10 meters and I'll cruise to the surface with him just to make sure that he's okay. Why? Because a lot of times, you know, he may have breath holds that are way longer and does way deeper drops than what the current drop was that he shot at the fish. However, he may have struggled with that fish down on the reef. Maybe the fish got wrapped, maybe he had a gun malfunction, whatever the case was. I want to make sure that if he's stressed out, I'm down there helping him. So we take it to a little bit different level, where that is not just one up, one down, not just arm's length away, but when we see somebody shoot, we're gonna meet them down there, because ultimately we don't know what they just went through. You know, he could have something wrapped around his leg, his fin could have broke, like in this case, the other day, we had a partner that we were diving with, who we don't dive with a lot of times, and his fin broke. Wasn't an Alchemy fin, but his fin broke at 80 feet, and he's coming up, and we could see that he was a little stressed out. My normal regular dive partner and team Alchemy team member, Garrett Andrew Moss, met him down at 10 meters, and sure enough, his fin had broke. And so he's struggling to get to the surface. He's got a fish on, and yeah, he was a little stressed out at the surface and showed signs of LMC. And you know what? It was a perfect scenario. Not only were we an arm's length away, but Garrett was down there meeting him at the 30-foot mark. Another one that most people do forget and probably don't even practice in general, but is very important out here in the Hawaiian island chain, because we have extremely rough weather sometimes. Like most islands, most remote places in the world where you're diving, the weather can turn on and turn off at the drop of a dime. And ultimately, in most cases, you know, you've got to know your surroundings. So know your surroundings. One of them is know where your boatman is at all times. Most boatmen, when you're traveling around the world and you're in remote places and you're getting a guide, or you're being guided by just somebody who has a boat, and you know you need to get out there to the zone. Sometimes these guys are completely oblivious to what's going on around them. Yes, they're keeping an eye on you in most cases, but sometimes they're jigging rods, you know, sometimes they're on the phone, getting an argument with their girlfriend, whatever the case may be, sitting on Instagram. But nonetheless, we've seen it many times where the boatman just isn't paying attention. Now he's 100 yards from the group who's spearfishing. You know, this is just unacceptable. So what we do is we always have our head on a swivel looking for where that boatman is at any given time. When the water is rough, it's super easy to get lost in those troughs. So, you know, it could be calm, and then the boatman's right on top of you guys. He's paying attention. He's like, it's calm, it's relaxed. Now the wind starts coming up. There's 2 to 3 foot wind swell. You're lost. I mean, he can't see you in most cases unless he's right on top of you. If he's 100 yards away, he's not going to see you in swell. So I keep an eye on the boatman because he's easier to see. I'm letting my dive partners know, hey, boatman's getting a little bit further away. Let's catch up to him. You know, hollering, giving them signs, signals, you know, wave your spear gun, whistle. Whistle's always important to have, you know, especially when you're diving in remote locations. So one of the more obscure, not thought after things that I see concerning safety in spearfishing, keeping an eye on your boatman, not relying on your boatman to keep an eye on you. We had a scenario the other day, and this happens all the time when you're diving with guys. Guys invite us out all the time, different places all over the United States or all over the world for that matter. And you know, they're just unexperienced, or inexperienced. So basically, you know, they're loading up their guns, or they're tracking fish, or they're whatever. They're just waiting in general. Like say we're blue water spearfishing, they're waiting in general, messing around with the chum bag, messing around with the flashers, whatever the case is. Their gun is pointed at us, and you know, I keep my gun all the time pointed either down, and if my dive partner's coming up, I'll point it to the side, or if my partner is on the surface, it's pointed down. I mean, it's that simple. And it's all the time like that. And when I was first starting spearfishing, yeah, my gun was all over the place too. I wasn't paying attention. But knowing your surroundings is the key in safety and spearfishing, because it can get really, really dangerous really, really fast. You don't want to be that guy that isn't paying attention to his surroundings, and all of a sudden his band breaks, he flips out a little bit, trigger happy, the trigger goes off and a shaft is through his partner's leg. You just don't want to be that guy. So be aware of your surroundings. Keep your gun completely away from everybody. if you're loading your bands, turn to the side, load your bands, then come back, you know, to wherever you are and keep an eye on your partners. But, you know, knowing your surroundings, making sure that gun is not pointed at anybody at all times. This is very, very important. And it's forgotten a lot of times. I see it all the time. I see divers all the time that are their guns pointed at somebody, or they're swimming and getting, you know, kicking out to the zone, or kicking through current. They're swimming, there's guys in front of them, they're all swimming, you know, carrying gear, and guy's swimming and his gun's pointed directly at his partner. When I'm swimming, if my partners are in front of me, my gun's, you know, dragging along behind me. If my partners are behind me, my gun's in front of me, and I'm kicking and swimming. So just know your surroundings. When you're coming up too, you know, when I'm coming up from a dive, I'm trying to always keep my gun pointed down when I'm kicking up. I don't kick up with my gun right here, pointing up to the surface. I just, you know, it's just not something that I do because my dive partners are at the surface. So being aware of your surroundings is super, super crucial concerning safety and spearfishing. It can get pretty hectic, especially here on the island. We've got some apex predators, you know, we've got tiger sharks, we've got big giant oceanic whitetips, we've got some serious grays, you know, and when these sharks start getting super aggressive, going after your catch, ripping this catch apart, people start to focus and hone in on where these sharks are, and they forget that they've got a whole group of people around them. So being aware of your surroundings when you're bringing in your catch around a whole bunch of sharks, you know, you've got line in the water, it's all over the place. You've got potentially you know, sharks all over the place. You've got partners trying to help you, and you know, it's absolute chaos. One thing that we practice, and I think is crucial, is that anytime somebody shoots a fish and there's predators, apex predators in the area, one of the dive partners is reeling up the line. If you've got a reel on your gun, he's reeling up the line while the other's pulling in his fish, and maybe one more partner is fending off the sharks. But pretty much it's an organized chaos, and ultimately this helps a lot. This getting those lines out of the water, getting everything kind of organized while you're fighting the fish. So you got tag lines, stuff like that. You know, those tag lines are being removed, pulled over to the boat by one partner, and he's got, you know, the floats are back on the boat. But this is all happening simultaneously while the one guy is securing his catch. This is super important because ultimately you don't need essentially everybody pulling up on lines, fighting sharks off. You just don't need that. It's just, you know, each guy's got his personal tasks at that moment, and it's important to talk through those before you ever get out there on the water. So these are some of the more obscure things concerning safety and spearfishing. You know, I hope that helped you guys out a lot. I hope maybe you heard something that you haven't heard before, but whatever the case is, you know, I get a lot of guys coming out here and diving with us on the Hawaiian Island chain, and ultimately, you know, it would help out a lot if these guys brought a little bit of experience, because, you know, it's already a stressful environment, and we don't need a lot of stress, extra stress, because, you know, it's just, we're trying to get out there, enjoy ourselves, come back home safe to the family. You know, in a lot of cases, this is our way that we provide food for our families. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I think that ultimately there's a lot more safety issues out there and precautions, but we can't touch all those in one video. So with that being said, aloha.